As artists who create for a living or are working on building a career out of their creativity, it's really easy to let other tasks take over. Ironically, finding time for your art can be more challenging once it's your job, since there's so many roles that you have to play in a creative business. But making time to block out everything else and do what you love is absolutely necessary. You deserve to get cozy and set up an environment that will help you get creative and just dive in headfirst into a project that makes you really excited. The illustration I'm working on today reminded me of what it feels like to just enjoy every second of the process. No shortcuts, no running the clock or thinking about client revisions, just in a pure flow state, enjoying every stroke for the sake of doing it without worrying too much about the outcome. So today I am bringing you along for my drawing process, start to finish, and hopefully it's a chance for you to just relax or get creative with me. So grab any art supplies you want to use, get caffeinated and situated, and enjoy the video. As per usual, I am sketching on my iPad Pro with my Apple Pencil using Adobe Fresco. And if you're curious about the breakdown of all of my brushes and everything that I do, you can find my step-by-step full illustration process video that I created a while back. As I am recording this, I am just 2 days out from my very first surf trip. We are off to Indo. We're going to be spending a few days in Bali, and then most of the time in the Mentawais, just surfing all day, every day. And I think this piece is pretty subconsciously inspired by the trip that I'm about to go on. I think drawing is a great way to escape your own reality, but also to just manifest the reality that you would like. So I am going to be drawing a sick barreling left in hopes that I am getting some of those on my trip. I think as creatives, we possess a super valuable skill of being able to imagine things super vividly and be able to just visualize ourselves in different scenarios. So I'd like to think that it helps me, being able to just draw all these cool tropical environments and amazing waves, and in hopes that that takes up enough space in my subconscious to bring me there in real life. So when you're hearing this, I will probably be off at a very remote island, hopefully getting the best waves of my life. Wish me luck. As a creative business owner, there's always so many things to do, and it's so easy to put art and just working on a project that you're genuinely excited about on the back burner. And I wanted to make sure that before my trip, despite all the stresses of leaving and trying to get my business in order before I go, that I still had time to just make something. Now, the whole reason that people take their creativity and turn it into a career is so that they can make more art and spend more time doing what they love, but it can still be so challenging to strike a balance between making time for that and still tending to all the tasks that come with being a creative business owner. And in this industry, there are so many opportunities to do so many different things. You always kind of feel like there's something you could be doing or should be doing, and it's easy to feel a little bit guilty if you're not being productive and thinking about ways to optimize your business or, be a better creative business owner. And I think there's so much pressure there, and it's a little bit of a double-edged sword that there's so many opportunities for us to do all different kinds of work. And if you're watching this, you're likely an artist, and you've probably heard things from your family and friends like, you should really make t-shirts, people would love these. You should make art prints. What about postcards? Maybe you could get your art on this product, or maybe you could work with this brand. And they mean well, they truly do. No one has bad intentions by trying to connect you with new opportunities or give you ideas, but it can be a lot. It can be really overwhelming to constantly hear what you should be doing, because we know all of these things, right? We know that there are so many opportunities for our artwork. And sometimes the best thing to do is just focus on a couple things that you want to focus on for that year or that quarter, or just, spend time making art for you and don't worry so much about trying to capitalize on all the opportunities that you could take advantage of. And maybe you just want to keep art your hobby. In fact, I think that is a great option for most people. Creativity is something that truly ebbs and flows. There are seasons where you have just endless ideas. When it's almost overwhelming that you have so many ideas, you can't get them all down on paper fast enough, and you want to get started on all of them right away, but they take time. That's such a nice feeling to have. Can be a little bit overwhelming, but just having the booming creativity feels so good. And then there are seasons where you run into some pretty extreme creative block and it feels like drawing just doesn't feel right and there's no ideas that are sticking out to you, and when you try to draw it just feels super forced. And the reality is that we need breaks and we need times when we're just drawing all the time. That's just part of being a creative, and I think what makes it different than so many other industries, hobbies, what have you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my creativity is just booming when I come back from a trip or traveling. It's like as an artist, I almost need to go on a few trips a year just to like really get out of my shell and get out of my routine, and that's where new ideas just come flooding in. And I'm not bringing an iPad or any drawing supplies, so by the time I get home, I will definitely be ready to get creative and draw again. Okay, so I've just finished up my sketch. We've got a sick barreling left framed with some palm trees and tropical plants, and of course a big old skull. I mean, realistically, there would never be a skull that big, but hey, we gotta throw in a little something there just to keep it a little edgy and a little rock and roll. When I think about what my favorite parts of the drawing process are, it's gotta be a tie between sketching and then working on my line work. On one hand, when you're sketching, you're using the most creativity. It's where you really let your imagination take control and you're planning out kind of like what world do you want to create in this drawing. And on the other hand, working on my line art is just so soothing and satisfying. I feel like it just calms my mind, and it's the longest part of the process, so I really just like to dive in and enjoy every second. And there's a lot of room for creativity because I don't always follow my sketch to a T, or I don't always sketch out everything that I need to. So a lot of times I'm just freehanding with my line art brush as well. A lot of people ask where I get my inspiration from, and that's a hard one because I feel like my inspiration is a accumulation of everything that I've been through in my life up until now and my just day-to-day lifestyle. I grew up really inspired by tattoo culture, which is where I think I found my love for line art and leaning into precision. My dad was a tattoo artist, and while I only got to spend some of my younger years with him, I think those are the years that really help form who you are as a person and your creativity. And I have really vivid memories of him sitting down with me and teaching me the importance of composition and how to draw line work, and I think that just stuck with me for so long and became how I wanted to draw. And moving on to my teen years is when I really found my love for punk music, and I would find myself trying to recreate album covers and band tees, and I just really leaned into the edgy kind of punk rock weird scene, and so that really made a huge impact on my art style as well. Flash forward to adulthood, I found surfing and I moved somewhere very warm and vibrant and tropical, and that obviously plays a huge role in my art style now. And so you can really see how my life has really come together in my art style, between the little bit of edge and weirdness using skulls and skeletons, but still keeping that line art and inspiration from tattoo culture, while using surfing in Hawaii as a huge inspiration for what I'm drawing. And with that being said, if you're an artist who's trying to figure out your style or find inspiration for your work, I really encourage you to lean on your own experiences, because that's going to be what takes you to a creative place that you know that you can stick with for a really long time. If you rely on other artists for inspiration, or don't quite know what you want to work on, so you just follow the trends that are happening at that time, it's not going to be very consistent and it's not going to be very you. And it's also perfectly okay to not niche down right away or feel this pressure to find your art style. You can just make things because they feel good and they're exciting to you. I also think there's this overwhelming pressure to be as original as possible and create something that no one has ever created before. And if you can do that, then that is amazing. But the reality is that it's 2025 and we are all influenced by so many things every single day, between social media, movies, music, art, our daily experiences, and we've seen so many things, and I think it's okay to just want to replicate some of the beauty around you in your life and not feel like you have to create something so out of the box all the time. I am definitely not the first one to draw in this line art style, nor will I be the last. And I for sure am not the first one to draw skeletons and skulls. In fact, they might be the most common drawing subject out there. I am certainly not the only one making surf art, and I am not the only one combining all of these three either. Artists tend to be really protective over the artistic style that they've developed, but whether they believe it or not, their style is definitely influenced by someone before them or art they've seen somewhere, and they're going to be influencing people too. And I think that's perfectly okay. If I can inspire somebody to get creative and start drawing because they really like the way that I draw, then I am more than happy to be that person. I think that's so sick. And there will always be people who straight up copy and trace over your art, unfortunately, but I just try to take it as flattery. Must mean that I'm making something pretty dang cool looking. And you know what? I'm not worried about it because it doesn't take away from the joy that I get from creating art. And also, no one else is me. No one else is going to be the unique person that you are, which is a lot of why people love your art in the first place. So believe it or not, people tend to care a lot more about the artist and their story more than the art itself. So keep doing you, keep creating, and you will shine through no matter how saturated a genre might be. So I think it's great to just be aware of your influences and pay gratitude to them. I wouldn't be the artist that I am today without the very early on lessons from my dad, being in tattoo shops and witnessing tattoo culture firsthand. I also wouldn't be the artist that I am without listening to punk music and trying to recreate band album covers and t-shirts. The same goes for surf culture. Had I never walked into a surf shop and saw the back of Vans t-shirts and thought, man, how do I become one of those people who makes things like that? I would not be where I am today. So don't copy people, but also don't be afraid to be inspired and to make art that's exciting to you. Nobody owns a subject matter or a technique, and I think we can all lean on each other and help each other find ways to make cool art. Which is a big reason why I'm here on YouTube making these videos and why I have an illustration course on my website as well. I just want to help people feel the way that I feel, and if they can get a step closer to understanding different tools and ways to make art that I have found that's transformative for me, I would love to share those. I don't want to gatekeep from anybody. With that being said, if you're interested at all in wanting to support what I'm doing here on YouTube, you can go ahead and subscribe. I'm super excited about where the channel is going, and I'm here for the long game, guys. I'm not going anywhere. I feel very inspired by this whole YouTube thing and all the new people that I've met on here. If you've been commenting on my videos or connecting with me on Instagram, we've been having some great conversations, and I'm really feeling it, guys. I'm I'm a YouTuber now. I am more than happy to be putting out free information, and if you feel called to support in any way financially, because not gonna lie, that's important, right? You can go to my website and purchase a t-shirt or an art print, all of these drawings that I'm making on YouTube. I have really nice matte paper prints of them. I also have canvas prints, framed canvas prints, and they're all really nice. So yeah. Could be a cool way to support me if you're interested in decorating your walls or decorating your wardrobe. So yeah, go check it out, maybe buy something. No pressure, of course. I think one of the coolest parts about art being my job and working for myself is that every single day and every single week is different, and the focus of my work shifts a lot. Some days I'm focused on making new artwork, like this piece, which took me about 3 days, 3 or 4 really long sessions to complete. And other days I'm editing videos like this one, or I'm preparing to launch some new merch, so I'm out in the wild taking photos and ordering samples and testing things out. Other days I'm working on my website, getting new listings available, or writing email newsletters out to my email list. And then of course there's social media content to create in order to connect with everyone and stay relevant always. Always a constant pressure to show up on different platforms. So There's a lot that goes into running a business like this, and that's not even including the client projects and brand collaborations where I actually make my income currently. So, a lot of moving pieces and things that just make every day and every week very interesting. With that in mind, it can definitely be difficult to strike a balance between getting all of our necessary tasks completed while still being an artist at the end of the day and continuing to make art that excites us. Burnout and creative burnout are very, very real, and I find that it helps to just work with your creative energy. So, if you're having a bunch of creative block one week, that is maybe a good time to focus on the website project that you need to get done or doing a little bit more admin work. And then there may be seasons or days where your creativity is just absolutely booming. I think it's okay to surrender some of those other tasks that are still important, but put them on the back burner when you have ideas flowing. And obviously, you can't control every little bit of your schedule. Sometimes you just have to push through and get creative in times when you may not be feeling it and you're experiencing a lot of creative block. Whether it's for a client project or a personal project, in the times when you really do need to push through and get creative, either because you're working on a timeline and you just gotta make what you gotta make, or you're really excited to draw, you want to draw or make something, but you don't know what to make and you're just having a hard time getting the ideas flowing, I do have a little bit of advice. While escaping your life for a month and traveling to a foreign country is the ideal way to get new ideas, that is not practical for most people most of the time. So, you should be taking some mini resets. I like to either go for a walk or go out for a surf just to kind of set myself up with a blank slate and get some ideas moving and think about things that aren't drawing just for a little bit in order to refocus my attention. In my experience, it's very similar to working on something complicated or technical that seems to be frustrating you. So think like you're trying to build a shelf and you know you went somewhere wrong along the way and you just want to give up, or you're working on a math problem, or you accidentally almost just delete your entire video in Premiere Pro, like I almost just did a couple minutes ago, and you think that the world is over, but really you just need to step away for a second, take a breath, and come back with a fresh mindset. When you're hyper-fixated on something and looking at something so up close, it can be really hard to see the full picture. And that's the same thing with creativity. Creativity and ideas work just like any other muscle in your body. When they are overworked and exhausted, you're not going to be functioning properly. And a lot of people forget this. So it's really good to take rests and step back, even if it's just for 10 to 15 minutes, to do something else and stop thinking about it so much. Your brain needs a little bit more of a break than you think it does. You can also just shift your creativity away from this one project that you're so focused on and just use it elsewhere for something that's less important. So sometimes I'll just stop what I'm doing and just start doodling random stuff and scribbles, and it honestly does a lot. You would be surprised what a few random scribbles turns into. You can also just refer to looking at more inspiration if that's really what you need, and finding different reference images that maybe just give you one little bit of an idea that you run with and it snowballs into something so much bigger. For me, I really like to watch different surf edits or look at different images from different surf breaks and just get inspired that way. Sometimes one image, just a little thing about it, kind of turns into a much bigger idea, whether I see a little bit of a different shape of a wave that I'm not used to seeing, or there's a palm tree hanging low in kind of a weird way that I've never seen, and it leads into this whole other idea that gets built off of that image. So it's not that you're copying that image and just recreating it, but just one element kind of leads you into this train of thought that takes you to an entirely different place. For example, with this drawing that I'm working on, I knew I wanted to start a new piece, but I didn't really have a strong idea. But I ended up seeing an image of a wave where the photographer had a unique perspective, where the wave almost looked like it was like below sea level, or the flat, calm water in front of the wave was more in the forefront, and then this big barreling wave was out the back. And I thought, man, that looks so cool. I want to try to draw a wave like that. And then I was asking myself if I wanted to include a surfer or a skeleton, or what I wanted to do to make it a little bit different. And I wanted to keep it in line with some of my edgy work, but I didn't really feel like drawing a whole skeleton. So I thought, man, I haven't just included a big skull in any of my work for a while. And so I had the idea that I'd have a skull in the sand, and then it snowballs from there, and I'm having a palm tree grow out of the skull with leaves all over the place, and it just starts to grow from there. And my drawing looks completely different than that first image that inspired me. In fact, the wave is like entirely different in its shape and placement and everything, but you can see how that one little element sparked this whole inspiration. With this drawing, I felt truly in the flow state, and maybe for the first time in quite a while, if I'm being honest. This one, I just felt like I was embracing the entire process and taking my time drawing every single line slow and carefully because I was enjoying the process of doing it and not super focused on the outcome. I guess you could say it was feeling very therapeutic for me. And in case you're wondering, my artist name, LOINDAFLOW, is in fact pronounced LOINDAFLOW. Not LOINDAFLOW, which is one I've gotten a few times recently, or LINDAFLOW. Some people literally think my name is Linda, but my name is Leia, and it stands for L-O, Lo, that's my initials for Leia Organa, in da flow, which is a play off of Hawaii and surfing, but also being in the flow state. And so yeah, I built my entire brand off of being in the flow state, and it's a place I think I should visit more often because this is very nice. Now you might be thinking, is her name seriously Leia Organa? And to answer that question, yes, it is. My dad was a huge Star Wars fan, probably more of a fan than anyone you know, and I'm saying that in full confidence. He decided that I had to be Leia Organa, and then my mom came in and made it a little funky and said, okay, but we're spelling it weird. So my spelling is a bit off, it's not how it's spelled in the movie, and I've never had to compete for a username or password or anything like that because my name is definitely spelt weird. I might be the only one ever with this double silent H, but it makes me me, and I like it. And every time someone finds out that I'm named after Star Wars, they have to ask me if I am also a fan, and yes, I am. I also love Star Wars. I am now nearing the end of this illustration and just working on finishing up these highlights and shadows, which is definitely my favorite part of the coloring process. I just love working with these thick tapered strokes as my highlights, really adding dimension and light throughout all the leaves in my drawing. Even though these are really simple and graphic shapes, when you take a step back and look at the drawing as a whole, there's so much dimension, and I just think it turns out so cool. A reoccurring theme throughout my work is having this sort of wavy ombre of colors in the sky with these small circular light flares, and I tend to make the sky a bunch of blues or greens, sort of a mysterious night scene, and last minute at the end of drawing I decided to refer to the colors in the palm tree trunks and the florals, that warm yellow color, and add that to the sky to see what it looks like, and I just absolutely loved it. It's a lot different than what I normally do, but I feel like it brought this cool warmth to the whole piece and made it more of a sunrise scene. So last minute I sort of made a big change, but I'm really happy that I did it. I think the warm tones in the sky really bring out the blues and the greens in the water and just make the whole thing pop, dare I say. I find that as I grow as an artist, I become more and more proud of each piece that I create, and this one is no exception. I really loved how this turned out, and I'm excited to just have it and be able to look at it forever, and hopefully it helps me manifest some really sick lefts on my trip. I hope that this video can serve as a reminder for you to carve out some time in your day, your week, or even your month to get creative and make art that you're excited about. I encourage you to leave behind any pressure to create what you think other people want you to create and just do what feels good to you and what you're inspired by. Art is all about breaking rules and creating a world that we wish existed. So grab your art supplies and a coffee and get started.